We are in a much better place. When I hear people say nothing has changed, I just want to say, come and walk in my shoes. The signs that I saw when I was growing up, they are gone, and they will not return. The only places our children and their children will see those signs will be in a book, on a video, or in a museum. For this museum to be opening, coming and seeing so many of my friends and colleagues from the movement, it was almost too much. To see people that I was arrested with, jailed with, beaten with, we were a family, a band of brothers and sisters. We bled together. So to see them here, it's very moving. It tells the story of my life from the time that I was a little boy growing up in rural Alabama until the time I walked across the bridge in Selma in 1965 that became known as Bloody Sunday. I hope that people, all people, but especially children and young people that pass through this museum will be inspired. My folks had told me over and over again when I would ask them about those signs, white waiting, colored waiting, white only, colored only. They would say, that's the way it is. Don't get in the way, don't get in trouble. But Dr. King and Rosa Parks inspired me to get in trouble, good trouble. And maybe, just maybe, this museum would inspire another generation of young people to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble, to make our country and make our world a better place.
Hey, well, good evening to everyone. Good afternoon. I am so excited today because I've got a treat for you. I've got a special guest today. One of the challenges of this day is I'm getting so many questions about voting, how to vote, and we wanted to make sure that if we were going to give you some information, we were going to give you the information from somebody who could tell us the facts, not what somebody shared at work, not what they heard, not what they might have read on the internet, not what has come in the mail from a third party. We wanted you to get it right from the professional. So I'm excited to introduce you to Ms. Pinkerman. She is the General Registrar for the city of Chesapeake. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Wow,
Thank
I've
you
been
so
practicing.
much.
I was practicing all the way over. So thank you, first of all, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Our phones are ringing off the hook, too,
I
and
am
we want to
sure.
get
So
the word out.
hopefully we'll shut down a little bit of the phone calls because
right.
the video will answer those questions for you.
Wonderful.
Well, I wrote down some simple questions that I started to think about.
Sure.
You know, I'm a registered voter. I know where I vote. But I can, you know, every year you get new dynamics. So
Correct.
First of all, can we still register to vote? And if so, how and where?
Absolutely. You can still register to vote up until October 13th. That's the deadline to register for the November election. Yes. You can register online. You can register in person. You can mail it in. We have numerous ways you can get registered to vote.
Is that deadline across the state, or is that just Chesapeake?
That is across the state.
So anywhere in the state of Virginia, October
13th. That's the big date. That's if you've moved. That's if you want to register for the first time. Everything freezes after that date.
Okay. So how do I confirm if I'm a registered voter? Because I get a lot of people who say, I was talking to somebody the other day, for instance, and they said they checked to see if they were a registered voter, and I guess they voted in the last election, but their name had been purged. Now, they weren't in Chesapeake, but their name had been purged. So how do I confirm that I'm still a registered voter?
You can go onto the Department of Elections website, which is www.elections, with a S on the end, .virginiaspelledout.gov. You can enter your information in the citizen portal, and it will give you a wealth of knowledge as far as if you're registered, where you're registered, where your polling places, and what districts you're assigned to based on your address.
Right. Okay. Because I know some of that changes with COVID, especially when we get to that actual day, because our church is a voting precinct, but I think some churches have decided they're not going to be a voting precinct. So that's good to know. So you can register online.
You can register online if you have DMV license or ID card, because what it does is it connects with that and pulls the signature from your license to create the application.
But I don't have to have the star.
No, you do not.
Okay.
No.
So if I have a driver's license from Virginia or a DMV form of identification, I can go online.
Absolutely.
Is it the same website?
Yes.
So the same
website.
Outstanding.
But to make any changes, you need to have that DMV. Now, you can still check your information even if you don't have the DMV. But to make changes on your application, it has to.
That's great. You mentioned it right then, so if I am new to the area, just moved here from California, Kalamazoo or wherever, and I am an American U.S. citizen,
correct.
what do I need to do if I'm new to the area?
You can go onto the website and you can download the application. If you do need to do a paper application because you haven't been to DMV, I know we're hearing a lot of times that people are having to make the appointments and they're worried that they want to go ahead and register, but they don't have their license taken care of. But you can still go ahead and register with a paper application and mail it in, fax it in, email it in, and all of our information is on the City of Chesapeake website under Voter Registrar, and they can get that to us from there.
So they can mail it to your office?
Correct.
Or bring it to your office?
Or bring it to us, absolutely.
Because you just raised another piece when you went to the mail thing.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot more traffic at our office now.
Can you tell me what is the difference between mail-in voting and absentee voting?
Absolutely, sure. A lot of the mail-in voting is done in states where they automatically mail out ballots. We don't do that in Virginia.
Okay, so Virginia doesn't mail any ballot to anybody's house.
We don't mail ballots unless you request it.
Right. Now, recently there were some ballots that went out, or something went out.
Applications for ballots.
Okay.
By a third party created a lot of confusion.
Absolutely. That's the
their hearts were in the right place. They were trying to get people applications, but it was very confusing because some people had already registered for their ballot.
Right. So I can, if I've never done that, I can register to get a ballot sent to me in the mail from the registrar.
Correct. And those ballots will be ready September 18th for mailing.
Okay.
You can still request one up until 11 days before the election, which is October 23rd.
Which is the other complication. If you cut it that close, you're putting it in the hands of the Postal Service to be able to get it to you.
The deadline was up until July 1st, 7 days, which it just wasn't feasible for us to get somebody a ballot and then get it back. They did change the law, and as of July 1st, you have to request 11 days ahead of time now.
That's still tight.
It is still tight.
Yeah, for me, the better thing for you to do is request it now.
Absolutely.
Or can they request it now?
Absolutely.
You can't vote yet, though.
Right. You can request up to 12 months ahead of time.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So to request the ballot and then mail the ballot or bring the ballot in personally to the registrar's office. Yes. Can you bring that? Now that's interesting. So if I requested the ballot, rather than standing in the line the day of voting, can I just take my ballot to the precinct? As of right now, no. Okay. As of today. If you take it to the polls, you can turn it in and void it and get a new ballot and go vote on the machines. Right. There is some things in the works that may be changing. But as of right now, you cannot. So the safest way is if I request the ballot, you all send me the ballot, I vote, and then I take it to the registrar's office or put it in the mail. Correct. And with the ballot, the envelope and all of that is already included. Everything's right in there for you. So I don't have to worry about getting the address correct or anything. Exactly. It's a self-addressed app. Here's a question I'm getting. We've got a lot of young people in the church. Yes. So I'm a young person that lives in Chesapeake, but I'm going to school in North Carolina or, wherever I'm going. How do I vote as a student? What's the best way for me to vote as a student that is registered already?
Right.
But I'm going to be, well, I don't know now if they will, but potentially I would be away at school.
Okay. That has been our traditional big volume of voters that got the absentee ballots. They would fill out the form. They have to put their residence address for Chesapeake, but then it asks where they want that ballot mailed. And that's where they put their college address on the application,
Wow,
and we
okay.
will mail it to their college address.
Okay, and so then they would do it the same way.
And they would do it the same way.
But what they cannot do is get that ballot, fill it out, complete it, and take it to a voting precinct where their college is. They have to mail it back.
Exactly. It has to come back to Chesapeake to count.
Now, some students, I think, actually change their address.
Right, and that's a whole different case.
Right.
If they register where they are going to school,
Right.
they can go ahead
It's
and
so
vote
much
there.
easier to just send you the mailing address, let you send them the ballot,
Right.
and they maintain their Chesapeake residency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always warn that sometimes that can play into tuition,
Absolutely.
being in-state and out-state, and you
That's
certainly don't want to mess
exactly right.
that up.
That's exactly right. Wow, I hadn't thought about that. That's
Right.
exactly right. When is the last day to register to vote?
October 13th is the deadline. It can be postmarked the 13th, or it has to be in our office the 13th if you're bringing it in person.
So October the 13th is legally the last day in the state of Virginia
In the whole state of Virginia.
for you to register to vote in the election in November.
Correct.
October 13th. So please mark that date. I've moved, not talking about a college student now.
Okay.
But just a resident, and it might still be in Chesapeake, but I lived in Deep Creek, and now I've moved to Hickory.
Okay.
What should I do?
You would do the same thing as if you were registering. You would go on that citizen portal for the Department of Elections.
And give us that website once again.
That's www.elections.virginia.gov.
And it's elections with an S.
With an S, yes.
And Virginia spelled out.
Right.
And hopefully we'll be able to put it on the screen for you as well.
That'd be great.
So you go there.
You go there, pull up your information on the citizen portal, and mark that you want to update your information. If you're registered anywhere in Virginia, you can do that way.
And I still need, though, the Virginia driver's license
Right,
and the DMV
exactly.
stuff. Because it's going to pull that signature.
Right.
I might be able to get a job when this is
we've
over.
got plenty for you to do.
Wow. I mean, that makes sense. But once again, you hear so many different things. It's like, I wanted to make sure we just got the real facts. That is so great. I know with COVID, some voter precincts are changing and things like that.
Right.
So if I'm a citizen of Chesapeake, like where I vote, I don't know what they call it, but I vote at the old school out off of Bethel. I think it's Bethel.
Wollaston Ruritan Club,
Yes.
otherwise known as Gertie School.
That's right, Gertie School. So how do I confirm that my precinct has not changed and where I'm supposed to go vote if I'm trying to vote literally November the 3rd?
If you're changing registrations or anything like that, check it now.
Right.
But for election day, honestly, I would wait until closer to the election to double check that there have been no changes in your precincts. In fact, I did get a call just today that one of the churches is not going to be available. It could continue based on what's going on with the pandemic.
Well, you'll be able to use ours.
Thank you very much.
For the record, we take it a step further at ours. In fact, you use 2 of our buildings.
Yes.
What we do is we literally hired an independent cleaning company, and we will do this November the 3rd as well. That's just right there sanitizing everything. Every time someone left one of the little cubicles, they were right behind them wiping it down. We're not required to do that. We want you to feel comfortable coming to the 2 sites that we have the ability to partner with the registrar and make happen. So please know, you don't have to worry about that piece is going to be clean, but I can understand, in this season.
Absolutely.
What do I need to take with me? Because this is another piece. You know,
Sure.
I heard people saying you got to take your birth certificate and all, and I'm thinking, man, I mean, I know what I walk in with at Gertie School is just my driver's license.
Right.
And this is the other piece. The poll workers are really good at Gertie School. I can't talk about everybody, but all the poll workers know me, and so it's always amazing to me that I walk in and they ask me for my identification, and I'm thinking, you know me, we used to work at the shipyard together, but they still ask for that identification.
When my parents vote absentee, I ask for their ID.
I got you. So what do I need to take with me that day?
Okay, that part has changed a little bit as well. July 1st, the law changed again. In Virginia, you don't have to have photo ID. You used to have to have photo ID. And of course, driver's license has always been our number one ID anyway.
Right.
Easy check-in and everything. But there are some other things. And of course, if you go to that website, there is actually a whole list of documents you can bring if you don't have a driver's license or an ID card issued by the DMV. So I urge you, if you're not going to use a license, please go look at that list of documents. You can even take a utility bill.
Wow.
Yes.
As long as it's my name.
As long as it's your name and address.
Now, this is what I get, though, okay? My name, I do my name two different ways.
Okay.
One is Kim W. Brown, because I'm named Kimberly, so I don't like advertising that as much. But Kimberly Walter Brown is my legal name.
Okay.
Just a point of reference. So if I was to take my utility bill, they wouldn't have my driver's license, but I'm probably registered as Kimberly Walter Brown. But I take my utility bill and it says Kim W. Brown. Is that a problem?
That would not be a problem.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's great. What time, and this is so elementary, but what time are the precincts open?
6 a.m.
6
a.m.
a.m.
Early day for our folks that are out there.
That's across Virginia or just
Across
Chesapeake?
Virginia. The polls are open 6 a.m. till 7 p.m.
To 7 p.m. What happens if I'm standing in line at 7 p.m.?
You are good to go. They are going to go to the end of that line at 7 p.m., mark who was the last one in line, and everyone that's in line.
So no one should be able to tell me poll is closed at 7 p.m. if I was already in that line.
As long as you're in that line, you're good to go.
And just stay in line. They've got to give me my privilege to vote.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. How can people volunteer?
That is great. We need all the volunteers we can get. If you go to our website with the City of Chesapeake and look for the voter registrar's website, we have a link on there.
So you all are a link in the city's website?
We are a link on the cities,
Okay.
yes. And it says, working the polls, I'm interested. There's an interest form. You go in, put your information, what areas you're willing to work in. Some people want to stay close to home, especially with it being such an early morning. So we just ask that you go in there, fill that out, and we'll get the email that you're interested, and we'll send you the information to get signed up.
Wow. So anybody, there are no
Any
stipulations.
registered voter.
That's what I was going to ask. So you have to be a registered voter in Virginia to work the polls.
You don't even have to be in Chesapeake, but in Virginia.
Wow, okay.
We have some folks that maybe have moved out of the city but enjoyed working at the polls with their neighbors.
Now that makes sense.
They'll still come back and work.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to, that helped me because I was getting ready to say, if you're not a registered voter, why would you want to work the voter polls?
Yeah, it's usually not an issue.
Yeah.
If you're that interested that you're going to work, you're usually registered to vote.
Thank you so much. I think you've cleared up so much. Is there anything that I might have forgotten? Or?
I would love to tell folks about our early voting.
Okay.
Used to be you had to fill out a form if you were voting in person, absentee, before the election.
If you were voting in person.
In person.
Absentee.
Absentee,
okay.
45 days before the election.
That's what I usually do when I would go up and say I'm going to be out of town or something like that. Okay.
Exactly. Well, now it's no excuse early voting. And this came at the perfect time with the COVID because it's going to allow us to not have so many people gathered at once. But our libraries in Chesapeake have just been wonderful. We're using all the libraries except for the Cuffy Center. They are having some renovations. But it puts one library in every zip code in Chesapeake.
That's great.
That you can go to for 45 days before the election.
So 45 days before November the 3rd.
Correct, Monday through Friday. And we'll post the hours. We're still working some of the details out, but City Council approved us to use them. And they will be our early voting satellite
Now,
centers.
this is Chesapeake only.
Chesapeake only.
Right.
Now, other cities may have, but...
Right, but I wanted to make sure, because we've got people that might be watching from Richmond.
Right, that may not have that option.
What Richmond is doing. But
Sure.
in Chesapeake, 45 days
45 days.
before November the 3rd.
Starting September 18th.
Starting September the 18th.
Right.
Do I have to go to the library in my zip code?
No, you do not. You can
Any
go
one
to
of the
any
libraries.
library.
Wow.
But remember, on Election Day, you do still have to go to your precinct.
Right. But for this early voting, I can go to any library 45 days before November.
As long
the
as it's
3rd.
during the hours we
As
have
long as
somebody
it's open,
stationed.
right?
Yes.
And I don't have to make an excuse or justify why
No. It would be like Election Day. No form to fill out. You go in, you show your ID, cast your ballot.
Wow. Now, are there going to be voting machines there as well?
Absolutely.
Wow, that is so awesome.
The full experience.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Me. I appreciate it.
We really hope that today we enabled you to become more knowledgeable about voting. And I'm going to take a point of personal reference. I hate when people are complaining about the political system of our nation, and then I ask them this question: did you vote? And they say, no, I didn't go vote. Well, here's my response to them. If you did not vote, do not complain or talk about whoever is running, whoever got elected. And here's the other piece. People think, I hear this all the time, especially from young people. So please, please hear me, young people. My vote does not count. That is not true. And it really pains me, because people died for the right to vote. I mean, I just realized the other day that African-American women couldn't vote until the 60s. Mm-hmm. And I was born in 61, so I'm thinking, wow. And that was just phenomenal to me to learn. I was embarrassed that I didn't know more about my civic history. But please take advantage of the opportunity to vote. It's your ability to share your voice. It's your ability to be a part of the system. People died for you to have that right, and it is your right. So please exercise your right. Hopefully today we have taken away all of your excuses. You cannot say, I don't know. You cannot say that there aren't multiple ways. And here in the city of Chesapeake, they have really stepped up and given us the ability to vote so much earlier. So you can't say, I don't want to stand in line. You can't say, I'm worried about COVID. There are so many mechanisms and so many different ways you can exercise your vote. So once again, thank you so much.
I appreciate
we'll be praying for you over the next couple of months until we get to November the 3rd. Do you take November the 4th off? No, not the 4th. I'm sure. And this year, I'm sure you won't be taking the 4th off. But we'll pray that you'll get a little rest after November.
Thank you so much.
So thank you once again.
It.
We hope we've blessed you. We hope we've given you some vital information. I just got one thing to say: go vote. In light of the events surrounding our country and the questions swirling around concerning our place in this world, we must respond.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome some.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome. overcome. Some
we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, don't you know that I do believe that we shall overcome? But something's gotta change. Things can't stay the same. Together we can make a difference. Doesn't have to be this way.
Something's gotta change. Things can't be the same. Together we can make a difference. It doesn't have to be this way.
Doesn't have to be this way.
Things can't stay the same.
Together we can make a difference.
Something.
What happened to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and too many others revealed what many of us already knew, but failed to acknowledge: that America still does not have a vaccine for its deadliest virus, racism.
Things can't stay the same.
Yeah, we can make a difference. Doesn't have to be this way.
We are challenged to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves.
It doesn't have to be this way.
Something's gotta change. It can stay the same. Together we can make a difference.
Something's gotta change. Nothing can stay the same. Together we can make a difference. Yes, we can. Something's gotta change. Nothing can ever stay the same. Why don't we make a difference together, y'all?
To ensure justice for those who are being crushed. Yes, the Bible says, speak up for the poor and the helpless, and see that they get justice.
It's time
In
for
the
a change.
words of the prophet Amos, but let justice roll down like water, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream.
Together we can make a difference. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
It's up to us to make a difference. It's up to us to make a change.
Be the change you wanna
We
see.
can no longer be silent.
I see
Silence is a betrayal.
I wanna see me.